Gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I really appreciate you guys checking today's video out. Got a good one for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the sort of the informal study I've done on bass feeding behavior over the past 40 years, and I'm going to sort of tell you a little bit about that, what I've concluded about that, what I've learned about bass feeding. And I think after you hear some of this stuff, you may change your perception about bass and why they strike lures and how they strike lures, because this has been something that I've really paid attention to a lot over the past 3 or 4 decades. So we'll get into that in today's video. So real quick, guys, just our weekly reminder. You guys hear every video here. Just want to invite everybody out there that hadn't heard yet to check out our summer lake map breakdowns at fishthemoment.com. We got summer breakdowns of lakes all across the country. Gives you 40 good GPS waypoints to begin your search in, information how to download them, tips and advice on how to use everything. And it's just a really good resource to learn more about any lake that you want to learn more about. So I'll put the link in the description. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, one of the things about being a bass angler is, like, if you're going to get good at it, you've got to become sort of a student of the fish. And probably one of the biggest mistakes I see so many people make out there that are trying to learn about fishing is they don't pay attention to the important aspects of fishing. And the important aspects is understanding bass behavior and movement. It's like everybody watches all the YouTube videos talking about the newest bait or the newest color or whatever like that. They get all the views. And when you talk about bass behavior and studies and that type of stuff, they don't hold people's attention because they're not flashy and it's not instant gratification. But I can assure you, if you sit through this video, listen to what I'm talking about here, it's going to help you guys catch a lot more fish. So first of all, I've sort of done this study informally ever since about the mid-1980s about when bass feed, what makes them feed, what makes them strike a lure, what's the best place to be at certain times, all that type of stuff. And my overwhelming conclusion that sort of like is the foundation and sort of like the entire basis of everything else I'm going to talk about is the fact that, in my opinion, bass are night feeders for the most part. I think a lot of predator fish are night feeders. I think that most all year long, the majority of the feeding goes on at night for bass. I just think that that's when the activity as far as their prey's out there. I mean, the crawdads, the shad, the frogs, whatever like that bass go after, those are more active, and they can be camouflaged a little bit more. I mean, the darkness helps them camouflage. They can maybe sneak up on their prey. They can maybe take advantage of their smell or lateral lines to get the prey. But regardless, I just think that most of them feed at night. And the reason I say that is I've caught way too many bass suspended out in open water, different times of the year. Some in the wintertime, some in the summertime, that had crawdad pinchers, fresh ones that looked like they had just ate them, sticking out of their gullets. And they didn't get a crawdad. Those crawdads don't swim out in the middle of open water and suspend it, in a over open water like that. So my conclusion was a lot of those fish moved up on the bank or in shallower water on the bottom and fed at night. And that's when most of it takes place. Now, the thing about that is bass are opportunistic feeders. So Randy's going to say, "Why, Randy, I've seen them busting shad and, going after perch and stuff like they're hungry during the daytime." Yeah, I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I think that, like I said, bass are opportunistic feeders, and if something's there and it's accessible, they're going to go for it sometimes, but I don't think that compromises the majority of the feeding. I think what people mistake a lot is they mistake feeding bass being hungry for bass that bite and chase and go after prey for different reasons. I think that's why I think most of the fish that you catch during the daytime are for bass that aren't feeding. I think the other aspects are more important. It's like bass will hit a lure out of reaction, out of instinct, out of curiosity, out of competition, out of anger. A lot of different reasons. They're ambush predators, and a lot of times they don't have time to think about something. They're just going to dart out and get it or not, depending upon their mood and their personality. So, in my opinion, from the studies that I've done, I think that if you catch a bass during the daytime, the bass has made a mistake, and I think that a lot of times you're getting that fish to strike for other reasons than just being hungry out there. So what does that do? I mean, how does that make you fish on there? So a couple different things. Like I said, everybody knows that fishing during low light conditions is better. I still think one of the reasons that you catch a lot of fish during low light conditions is I simply think there's more fish in that shallower water in low light conditions that are getting ready to feed. So as you know, the leftover fish that were there all night long, they may start slowly pulling off into deeper water after about 9 or 10 o'clock. And those fish, that are out in deep water may start swimming up to the bank shallower 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night. So you got a lot of different fish coming and going with that. But ultimately, guys, bass behavior and movement is a huge mystery out there. We think we have a handle on it, and we think we know sort of what's going on a little bit, but we really don't. Bass are so much like people, in my opinion. They're individuals. They have individual personalities and characteristics unique to their own. And I've noticed this because glide bait fishing is a prime example of this. It's like, say you're fishing a glide bait in clear water on a main lake point. Now, what is it that on one point you throw that glide bait out there and the fish comes up and just clobbers it, and you catch that fish? But on the next point you go to, 10 minutes later, in the exact same type of a situation, environmental conditions, that fish swims up from behind the lure and just looks at it and swims down. What is it that makes the mood and the personality of those two type of fish completely different? And I think a lot of it just has, each fish is sort of unique to themselves. So that's one of the things that sort of blows all these theories out the window. But ultimately, guys, like I said, one of the things you can learn by this is, like, don't really try to emulate baits during the daytime that you think bass are going to hit because they're hungry, because I just don't think that works. I think moreover than not, fish baits that raise their curiosity, their competition, their reflex, their instincts, I think the more that you stick with those type of lures, the more fish you're going to catch during the day. So anyway, I hope it makes sense, and we'll talk later. See you guys.